Thank you very much, Mark, for the introduction. I am Dr. Chaham Alalouch, and as Mark said, I'm Associate Professor in Architectural Engineering at Sultan Qaboos University in Muscat. And today in this presentation, I'm going to present several projects that I have been working on with my students and colleagues. The idea is to present research ideas instead of research findings. I'm not going to make any research argument because what I noticed from earlier presentation of the MENA Space Syntax virtual seminars, a lot of attendees are postgraduate students, so I thought it would be a good idea to expose them to as many research ideas as possible. So I'll start with a small introduction of my beliefs in research, which actually it guides almost all of my research activities. I believe that built environment is made for people and it should be designed and constructed as such. I understand this is not a new belief, but it's not practiced, I'm afraid, recently. Technology is taking over. Technical aspects, sustainability is taking over from the focus on people, which actually concerns me a lot. Second thing, I believe that I'm trying to do this smaller. Sorry. Yeah. I believe that a building is not sustainable unless it's seen as such by stakeholders, including end users. For me, this is a central ideology or way of understanding research in architecture. Even net zero building, from my perspective, is not sustainable unless it's seen as such by stakeholders. And what I do usually, I speak regularly and write how to improve people quality of life through sustainable and smart built environment. I've published several, many journal papers and have been cited, alhamdulillah, widely. My research focus actually can be streamed into three channels, I would say, or three topics. First, space syntax. I've done research in locational privacy with a focus on perception and preference, not behavior. Accessibility to Old Muscat, land use and spatial structure in new areas in Muscat, land use distribution and space syntax relationships, spatial structure of traditional Omani houses and spatial structure of traditional Omani settlements, what we call locally harat. And for this package of research, I've been awarded the highly commended award by Emerald in 2010. Then I've researched and published widely in sustainability. I published in energy saving potential in hot climates, in eco house in the Gulf, sustainable construction in Oman, and recently in Sukh building syndrome. And for this package of research, I've been awarded the National Research Award 2020 in the energy and industry sector by the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation in Oman. And this is my picture with His Excellency, the Prince of Oman, and Her Excellency, the Minister of Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. More recently, I've been focusing on smart cities. I've done many research projects and publication on stakeholder involvement in smart city planning, with a focus on social sustainability in smart cities, which I think it's something that is under researched. Also, I'm doing work with some of my students, PhD students, and I'm not student anymore. She graduated already. She got her PhD, and other MSc students about the readiness assessment for transition to smart city, government and society readiness assessment. I'm doing research in digital participatory planning, and recently we have a project to make one of the buildings at SQ as a smart building. Today, among these three topics, I've been awarded research fund and consultation project worth about just less than $900,000 as a PI and co-I, and we have a grant now with Mark, actually, the Homes grant on the pipeline. Today I'm gonna focus on this package, on space syntax, a research package. And I'm gonna present, I have 9 projects, so I'm gonna present as much as the time allows me. In fact, I think space syntax research has been misused or actually abused. We can see many research that touches on the surface of space syntax without proper understanding of the theory behind it, behind space syntax methodology, and with the very how can I say it, easy to criticize statistical analysis that are not always valid or reliable. And I blame for that the editor-in-chiefs and the reviewers to allow such papers to come out. I was talking with some people around and from different countries, and they think that that's it, space syntax is just a matter of using depth map, for example, and we get this colorful, beautiful image, and that's it. We can claim that we've done space syntax without proper understanding of the impact of these colors on behavior or even on perception. So first thing, a quick background. I've done my PhD in Hertwat University, and part of it was on space syntax. The focus was on hospital ward design, open hospital ward design in NHS in the UK. And we've done a lot of stat on that, a lot of data collection, and a lot of we've got some significant results, and I take the pride that I'm one of the early people who used space syntax for locational preference, rather than behavior. And this project resulted in 2 papers, 2007 and 2009. Among them, they've got 81 citation up to now. As for Oman, from my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, space syntax is not a common topic to teach in higher education institute in Oman. So when I came to Sultan Qaboos University, I introduced a new elective course for undergraduate students. That's 2-credit course, and as I said, it's elective, and I called it Spatial Analysis Technique, and it was purely focused on space syntax. I wanted to introduce principles of space syntax as theory and as a method, and seed it down into undergraduate student minds. Later, when we established our MSc program in architectural engineering, I developed a course and I called it Human Factors of the Built Environment, and that's postgraduate course, 3 credits, and it is elective, and it consists of 3 main components, one of which is space syntax. Both courses end with research project and publishable paper, and actually I've got some paper published with my undergraduate student in the Q1 journals. Moving on to the project, the first project I want to talk about is land use distribution and space syntax measure. The focus of this project, actually the premise under this project is that we look at the city as a dynamic entity. It's not static, it keeps changing. So land use distribution changes with time. So we wanted to understand, can we predict land uses using space syntax measures? If we can do that, we can predict other aspects that are related to urban sustainability, like energy use, transportation, congestion, etc. So this is this picture. Actually, we focus on 3 main land use factors. So we have 3 main land uses: retail, residential, and mixed use. And we were collecting the data using site visits and land use mapping. Then we did the spatial analysis for the case studies, and we selected Al Ma'bela, which is a new area in Muscat, newly developed area in Muscat, and we considered into our analysis the integration, control, choice, and match, which is more recent measure in space syntax. It stands for normalized least angle choice. And we've done a lot of correlation, partial correlation, multi-regression, block entry regression. These are the area that we selected. This is Ma'bela and this is Muscat, and this is Ma'bela. I hope you can see my mouse. This is Ma'bela, and these are the areas that we selected. We've done the axial line analysis actually for that areas. And regression model, the multiple regression model, excellent Mark. The multiple regression model that we've done using the block entry method suggested that the residential land use is significantly influenced by the spatial attributes in the highly intelligible spatial configuration. That means that if the area is planned or designed, the street network is designed in an intelligible way as far as space syntax is concerned, then we can use space syntax measure to predict land uses. And intelligibility is a well-known measure in space syntax literature, which is the correlation between local and global measures, in other words, integration and connectivity. And what we found, and it was new for us, it wasn't earlier in the literature, that the normalized least angle choice, which is actually an indication of how organic or grid the structure is. This is a simple explanation of Natch measure. Natch is the best to predict the residential land use. So using Natch, we can predict the residential land use change in plans before we implement them. And as a consequence, we know that residential land uses use more than 50% of the energy across almost the world. So we can prepare the infrastructure for that. And this table shows the results of our regression model, and we see that integration and control contributed or explained actually 46.7, about 47 of the variation in the residential land use. But in the second block, when we add the Natch normalized least angle choice, the productivity of the model has statistically significantly improved to 62.2. Other statistics also supported Natch. Our model is valid and can be generalized. If we compare the R square with adjusted R square, we find the differences is only 1.6, which means that if the analysis was done using the whole population, the difference is only minor, it's not significant. So we claimed that our model can be generalized. Also, with the statistics I always check all the assumptions, because I believe proper solid results should be informed by statistics that is based on proper assumption and accurate set of data. So we checked linearity, outliers, all of this standard tests using VIF, tolerance, statistics, and it's all valid. This project resulted in a paper which was published in 2019, and it actually was the last paper I published on space syntax in peer-reviewed journals in Sustainable Cities and Society. You can Google it if you are interested in reading more about the relation between urban sustainability and land use from general perspective, and urban sustainability and space syntax and land use distribution from a more specific perspective. The second project is Muscat city expansion and accessibility to the historical core. We have in Muscat a historical core like historical Jeddah, same in Qatar, same in Muscat, which contains also Matrah Sukh, which Hiba we're gonna talk about. And we wanted to see after the expansion of Muscat as a city, how this impacted the accessibility to the old Sukh. Now we've done all of our space syntax analysis, and we found that accessibility to the old town has been enhanced by the expansion of Muscat. However, the spatial structure of the city itself, the old city itself, has been altered, which impacted people's quality of life and behavioral pattern. This project resulted in a conference paper which was later published by Elsevier as well. And it was done by with Noor Al-Kamali and Najwa Al-Hadrami, who were undergraduate students at that time. And actually I like this project a lot because I think it highlights an important aspect related to accessibility to all cities around the world. Third project is what we call spatial DNA of traditional houses in Oman, or DNA genotype as Bill Hillier call it, whatever you like. I prefer DNA. This project was done with Hamida, Buthaina and Maria, who were undergraduate students at that time. And the idea was just to explain first, Oman has different climatic zones. In Oman there are 3 climatic zones: hot dry, wet dry and tropical. We wanted to see or to explore whether the climate has altered the spatial structure of traditional houses across these 3 regions. So we picked out 2 houses from each region. So these are the locations of house 1, house 2, house 3, 4 and 2 houses from this area. And we've done visibility graph analysis, clustering, comparison, and we've explored all the differences in between public space, semi-public space and private. And what we found actually is that there is a common DNA regardless the climate zone that's related to how people behave, or in other terms, cultural norms inside within Oman. We haven't published this paper yet, but the abstract got accepted in the next Space Syntax Symposium in Norway, and I'm happy I'll see Hiba and maybe Mark in Norway in the next Space Syntax Symposium. In case I manage to complete the paper, to write the paper with the students on time, hopefully I'll do. Another project, which actually I'm not gonna explain in details because now in publication stage, but I thought it would be useful for others to have insight on that. We looked at the traditional settlements in Oman. We look at them, what we call harat. We've picked 4 harat from Ad-Dakhiliya area in Oman, and we've done analysis at macro and micro levels, spatial analysis. And this was done with my MSc students Saeed Al-Harithi, Khalsa Salmi, Shamsar Al-Arafati, or Manal Al-Ma'mari. The paper is nearly completed now, and we hope to submit it within a couple of months or so. I'm not specialized in documentation, conservation, preservation or rehabilitation. No, this is not my area of expertise. We have other people in the department who does this, but what we wanted to look at is the socio-economic, how the socio-economical factors framed the spatial structure in the traditional settlement, and how this urban scale spatial structure influenced the house's spatial structure. So we analyzed the harat, and we analyzed a sample of 30 houses within each hara. All analysis was done at macro and micro scale, and as I said, the paper hopefully will come out, so I'll skip to project 5. In this project, which was done with MSc students also, Ala, Wa'ud, Fatima and Rahma, we focused on green equity. We know that equity is a major component or requirement for social sustainability, and the green equity is one of the equities that is required for us in order to achieve a better urban sustainability. So we wanted to study the influence of socio-economical factors on pocket parks distribution in Muscat. We picked up 3 areas in Muscat with different rental value. Area that has a low rental value, and another area has high rental value, and a third area which has a moderate rental value. Then we quantified this project is multi-method projects. It's not only space syntax. We used many methods, as we will see soon. So we quantified the amount of green spaces in each of these areas, and we did post-occupancy evaluation using questionnaires and interviews. We've done also walkthrough assessment for the physical conditions, and we've done quantification of the spatial structure using depth map with a focus on integration, connectivity, and we've done visual control as well. So it's like, as you see from the data collection, it's a multi-stage research, and this is what I try to do in many of my research. I try to triangulate my results. I prefer to use other method that supports space syntax, just to get a clearer picture or perspective on the issue on hand. And actually we did find a correlation, as one might expect, between the amount of green area in terms of accessibility, quality and quantity, and the rental value. The higher the rental value of the area, the less green space is available. The lower quality the green space is, the less accessible the green space is. Also, this finding is not surprising, but it highlights that we are still not on the right track towards proper urban sustainability. We still need to consider the social sustainability aspect, put it into perspective, and provide equal access to green spaces around the city. Another project, traditional Sukh of Al-Swaq. This is traditional Sukh in Al-Swaq city, which is close, not close, I don't know how far from Muscat, but it's not too far. I can't remember the distance, maybe 2 hours or so. And the Sukh is started to get less occupants. So we wanted to assess the Sukh. We've done a lot of methods, a lot of data collection methods as well, and a lot of analysis using, again, semi-structured interviews with subjective analysis. We've done post-occupancy evaluation, walkthrough, and two-level space syntax analysis. And we've concluded with recommendations to the policymakers to improve the spatial, physical, and the social condition of the Sukh in a way that it gets preserved by attracting people to it, rather than preserving the physical entity of the Sukh without getting enough inhabitant or people to visit the Sukh. And this is the structure of the method that we used. As you can see, we used, of course, literature, semi-structured interviews, axial line, to analyze the accessibility and propose another solution to enhance the accessibility to the Al-Swaq Sukh. And we've done, of course, the visibility graph analysis to the Sukh itself. We've done a lot of behavioral mapping, questionnaire, and walkthrough. This is some of the example. The red line here is the main street that links the main highway, actually not street, sorry, that links the cities together. And this is Al-Swaq city, and this is where the Sukh is, and this is the visibility graph analysis of the Sukh itself. We've done behavioral mapping in 3 areas. We've mapped people, cars, older people, kids, and we tried to link this to our findings as well. Next project, and sorry Hiba for that, but we did analyze Sukh Matrah, and the paper now is nearly completed. I still need to spend some time on framing it in order to send it to a journal for publication. And our question is, why traditional Sukh still work? Why traditional Sukhs still work? This question has been around for a while, and I know Mark did work on Sukh Matrah, as far as I remember, and also I remember a paper for Professor Ashraf Salama, who did Sukh Matrah also with one of his MSc students when he was in Qatar as well. So we wanted to look into Sukh Matrah from more than one perspective. So we did axial line, visibility graph analysis, and we did post-occupancy evaluation and behavioral mapping in Sukh Matrah. This is the areas of behavioral mapping, axial line, visibility graph analysis, and these are some of the results of the post-occupancy evaluation, satisfaction, and other issues that that we explored. And as I said, the paper will be in publication soon, inshallah. What we found is that safety is the major component. Is not accessibility, is not physical condition, is not visibility, is not connectivity, it's safety. And this actually comes in line with the literature on open space or outdoor space usage. There is a paper for Aya Abbasi from her MSc who explored this in the most deprived areas, and again she found that safety is a major component that encourage people to go out and use outdoor spaces. And we found the same thing in Matrah Sukh as well. Project number 8 is Omani houses before and after Renaissance. And by Renaissance here I don't mean the 18th century Renaissance, but or 19th century Renaissance, but it's the Omani Renaissance. We know in 1970 Oman experienced a quick development in its infrastructure after His Majesty Allah Yarhamu ويطيب روحه إن شاء الله, may God bless his soul, take the lead and introduced many projects in Oman, and that influenced people's lifestyle. So we wanted to see, have the houses, the spatial structure of houses changed before and after the Renaissance as a consequence of change in lifestyle? And if it did, what is this change? And what lessons that we can learn from traditional houses that we might be able to recommend to the current policymakers in order to integrate in current building codes. And this project was done with Hafsa, Reem and Ahmed, who are all working architectural engineers now in the market. And this project won also a prize, a student research prize at SQU. I can't remember the title. So we picked up houses and castles from traditional, different traditional areas in Oman. We've done socio-behavioral mapping. We've done all the visibility graph analysis, justified map. We've done a lot of statistical analysis on that. And now also this is another project where the paper is in the publication stage, but we haven't submitted yet. I still need to finalize it. Last project I want to talk about today is, I hope I'm on time, good, is Covid-19. This is an uncompleted project, it's in the process, and I wanted to check or to explore, can we do anything regarding COVID using space syntax, since space syntax is originally initiated to predict behavior and link the spatial aspects to people behavior. And COVID has to do with the people behavior in terms of social distancing, gathering, etc. We know convex space, gathering, socializing, we know axial lines, movement, etc. And those both things, gathering and movement, are causes of COVID-19 spread. So what I did, I took the Student Recreational Center at Sultan Qaboos University, and I've done spatial analysis for that in an attempt to understand what's the best way to repartition the space in order to reduce the likelihood of COVID-19 transmission. And now I'm in stage of doing agent analysis. Agent analysis is a known method in space syntax for those who doesn't know it yet. Those small ants are actually people, so you can program those people and they move in the space according to the spatial structure and the parameters that you specify, so you can predict where people are likely to gather, etc. Those are the 9 projects that I wanted to present. I hope I wasn't too quick in presenting them, but as I said earlier, the idea is to stimulate perspectives, ideas and discussion in the MENA region, as the seminar says. And I hope space syntax research will maintain its integrity, its rigidity, and lose research in space syntax, or what I sometimes call Mickey Mouse research in space syntax, will not attract attention. I can quote here Professor Henry Snuff, who was a chief editor for a journal for years and years. In one of his comments on Facebook on a discussion regarding the quality of publications, and he said researchers need to develop a crab detector skills, so to separate research that's published for the aim of publication only and research that actually contributes to knowledge. I'll stop here before Mark stops me. Thank you very much. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and ResearchGate and Google Scholar as Chaham Alalouch. Thank you very much. I'll be more than happy to take questions.